tools itself, which comes pre-installed in the operating system, and try to use that to kind of conduct this ransomware attack. This is called living of the land technique, actually. Okay, so that's the reason why maybe the IOCs are not able to give you certain things. And the other thing also is that in most of the cases, suppose you have the IP address, for an example, in the ransomware attack, it is not necessary for a ransomware to kind of communicate with any IP address, because the thing is that ransomware will already have the embedded key in it, which it will use to kind of encrypt the files. Okay, and that key will already be there with the malware writer. If they want to give you a feature to decrypt the file, they will already have that key. So there is no need, because this ransomware intention is itself to destroy the file. So there is no need for this ransomware to kind of communicate with the outside world. So none of the, so if it is not communicating this, there's no need. If you have the IOCs like IP address and all, it will be of no use. Similarly, the IOCs.
Actually, what is happening? We have the four core simulation tool. So in that case, what we do, it is like we have to install one agent on one PC, and then we can target, like we have to, like in a lab we will be having, like it will show what are the online PCs in the lab. So then we can target from here to there. So it will be downloading the, for example, it is a cloud. For example, the 4 core is having a cloud. From there, it will initiate the attack on that PC.
Okay.
So it is not like we are installing malware directly on the PC and doing the simulation. So it is downloading from the cloud. So because the IOCs, they are all showing like legitimate.
Okay. Yeah. So there can be a lot of things, like thing is that then it will require a little bit more, like if IOCs are not helping, you need to kind of maybe there are different kind of techniques which you can use to kind of figure out, okay, what was that specific exe files that were executed, what were the command line arguments that were passed to that so there's one thing that actually I will lol so there's actually a project which I was actually planning to kind of discuss later, which is called lol-labs-project.github. So this is a list of all the binaries that are Windows. Okay, but using this binaries, you can actually do a lot of functionality, like you can download, you can execute. So let's say 80.exe, for an example, you can use this Microsoft tool itself to kind of download something. Okay, like it is downloading certain thing, or it is executing. So this 80 is actually executing certain exe file at every few interval. Okay, so thing is that
same thing is happening, like the same process will be showing like legitimate, but in the background it is doing something malicious.
Yeah, like let's say command.exe. So you need to kind of have certain kind of log which actually will give you the command line argument that was passed to it. So like this command.exe, it can help you in kind of this is a Microsoft tool, but it is downloading a malicious file for you over here. Okay, so this is the way, but this is something I will be kind of discussing later. I won't be discussing now, but this is something I will be discussing later. So let's not worry about that. I will kind of cover that part for you. Okay. So now let's stick to the networking part for now, and let me go to that. Let's see what else I have to discuss. So the DGA domain was done, and what else is there? Okay, now let me just give me 1 second. Okay, now let's do something. Let's discuss about two things, which is like reverse DNS lookup and passive DNS lookup. Okay, so what is like reverse DNS lookup and passive DNS lookup, and how it can kind of help you in kind of handling certain kind of incident. So what is reverse DNS lookup? So the concept of reverse DNS lookup in a simpler way is that when you connect your device to the internet, okay, it get assigned it get assigned a unique IP address. Okay, it get assigned a unique IP address. So reverse DNS lookup is something like going in the opposite direction. So instead of like we starting from a domain to an IP address, what we do is that we start with an IP address and then we kind of reach out to the domain name. Okay, this is similar like what we saw yesterday, where we were doing the NS lookup on an IP address and we were getting the domain name of that IP address. So this is actually called as reverse DNS lookup. Okay, it's in simple terms. Now, what's passive DNS lookup? It's actually little bit different than reverse DNS lookup. Okay, it's almost same, but just with a little bit difference. So, but it is equally interesting. So, thing is that passive DNS lookup. What is passive DNS lookup? Is just to like this. So there are certain websites, and I think one of the website is yes. I think this is one of the website, domaintools.com, which is actually quite good. And let me just so if you go over here, so this website actually what they do is that they also maintain the so what is passive DNS? First, kind of let us explain that. So thing is that passive DNS lookup is something like it collects and record the historical data about the changes in those DNS records. So let's say there is a domain, and let's say it has an IP address. Okay, it has a specific IP address. Let's say the domain is abc.com and it has an IP address, let's say 120.3.4. And let's say this was 4 months back. Okay. Now let's say the IP address of this URL got changed to, let's say 4.23. something. Okay. So let's say this was a data 2 months back. Okay, 2 months back. Okay, and now let's say at this moment of time, the website is pointing to, let's say, this website thing, the current data. Okay, so what we do is that if we kind of look at, if we do the NS lookup of this website, of this domain, of this IP address, it will tell me, let's say, abc.com for an example. Okay, but we also wanted to know what were the different IP addresses of this URL in history, like in past. Okay, so that's where thing is that there are different kind of websites. Like one of the example is domaintools.com. What they do is that they actually do the DNS query. They actually look at the DNS query at every day and make a list of out of that. Okay, they make a list of that. So what you can do is that one of the thing is let's say you have a URL over here. Which was, let's say, you got a hit, you got an alert that it is malicious. It is malicious because the domain name is abc.com, which was seen as malicious. Okay, so you got an alert for an IP address, for example, this one. And the reason was that the domain that is linked to abc.com was seen as malicious. Okay. Now what you can do is you can kind of do the passive DNS search and see what is the current, does abc.com is the current URL that is also hosted on this server. So so thing is that, let's say you got the result that, okay, 45.223 in the passive DNS. Let's say when you do a NS lookup, let's say it says f.com, for example. Okay, but when you do a passive DNS search, it will tell you all the URLs that it was kind of registered. So all the URLs that were kind of registered to it, and it will tell you like at what moment of time this URL, which is a malicious one, was linked to this one, 45.232. Okay, so it's like kind of keeping a track of how domains names and IP address evolves over time. And this historical data over here can be really valuable for researchers and analysts. And